Hello everyone, Lights and Gear is back with a flashlight review, and I have something from Olight today. This is the Odin, O-D-I-N. It's a rechargeable flashlight. It's about 6 inches long. It has some unique little features which we'll go over here in a moment or two. And just like most Olights these days, they come in a box like this, which has a lifelike size or a real size image of the light on the front of the box, almost like it's sort of embossed on here. But this is about a 6-inch long flashlight, and it comes in a very bulky kind of a box, so difficult to get the whole thing on camera at this time. And has a snap enclosure here, a magnetic enclosure on the front, and on the back are some of the features and some of the specifications. It has 2 modes, so it's not a multi-mode flashlight. It has low and high, and high is 2000 lumens and low is 300 lumens, so you're not going to get a really low beam on the light, but you do get 2000 lumens on high for a couple of minutes before it does an automatic step down. And some of your other specifications here include the 300-meter beam distance. It's impact resistant to 1.5 meters. It's IPX8, so it is waterproof, and so forth and so on. And it has some rather unique accessories within it as well. And like a lot of other Olights of these days, they don't actually describe what the LED is. I'm not sure. I don't know why they're not including that within the information. They just don't divulge what the LED is that they use in their flashlights anymore. But let's pop open the box here. And like with all Olight flashlights these days, it comes with very elaborate packaging, and this whole section here, which describes some of what you'll need to know about the light even before you start opening the package. As I say, it comes with some unique features, including a magnetic remote switch with a locking function. So anyway, pop this open here, and you get the flashlight right away, if you can see it amongst all the black here. So it's neatly nestled within the box, and right here is a little box on the end which features some accessories, and the accessories are actually pictured on the side of the box here. This is your magnetic charging, this is a couple of spare screws, and this is a wrench. So we'll get to all that in a moment here. The flashlight, and there's a little ribbon here to pull it all out with. So here's the light, and here's the manual nestled in here. Here are a couple of cable ties, and down here in this cutout section is the remote switch. Alright, so now that we have the contents of the box out, so I'll take the flashlight out of its little bed here, and it's very well secured in there. Now, it also mounts to a rail, or I imagine to a gun, or for whatever other kind of use you might have in order to secure the flashlight to something, in order to use the flashlight as a means of aiming. Now, I don't own any firearms, so the only demonstration I can give you here is a visual one in this way, to show you the rail system here. So let's go to the accessories in the small box. Here's this little package here, which includes the wrench and the extra screws. They're right there. The extra screws are used for the locking system, are used for the rail locking system. So in case you happen to lose the screws that are in there, those are extras for that. And in the box here additionally is the USB charger, which is like any other Olight base charger, which simply magnetically attaches to the bottom of the light to charge. So that's how you do your charging right there. And of course plug the other end into any USB source. One of the accessories I almost forgot to mention was the fact that like other Olight lights of this type, it comes with its own battery. So let me take off the end here, take the cap off, and the battery of course will already be in the flashlight. So you've got some nice threads here, and both inside and around the end of the light, good threading. So here's the battery, and it is a 21700 battery, as you can see. This, like another recent Olight light that I reviewed, which takes the exact same battery, the battery tends to be a little bit longer than most 21700s. So this flashlight, like other similar lights of this size that use the same battery, you won't be able to use any other battery other than the proprietary battery here that they give you. Any other 21700 battery, at least that I have tried, is too short, and it will not make contact here with the tail cap. So this battery is a few millimeters longer than most other 21700s, so that's the case here. Or if you want to use it in another, if you want to use it in a separate charger, you might have a bit of an issue due to its length. Pretty much every charger that I own, this battery is too long for, and it will not fit. And as I said in one of the other Olight reviews that I did, the only charger that I have found that actually accepts this battery is this X-Star ST2 unit. So this charger accepts these Olight batteries, and other chargers do not. So it fits just perfectly in this unit. So anyway, that's the story of the Olight battery, which comes with the Odin light. So this is the rail mount, and of course within the manual they describe its use quite well. It comes on and off, and it has a locking switch on the front here. So while it's on, right now it's in the unlocked position, but if I was to turn it like this, it would lock. So now it's physically, it does not come off, of course, once it's locked. So if I turn it back and unlock it, then I'd be able to press this in and slide it off. So that's how that attaches on there. If you've ever seen a rail mount like this before, I'm sure many of them are probably quite standard to this. This is actually the first time I have had a light with a rail mount. So as I say, I don't own any firearms, so it's not something that I would normally have a particular use for or whatever. So this is the first time I've had one. So it has the groove here on the bottom, and so it simply slides onto the top like that and locks into place, and then you turn the button to lock it, and then it won't come off. This mount here does not come off because this is all one unit here on the light, so this does not come off at all. To some this may seem inappropriate, but if you want to use it, if you want to use the rail mount, then of course you have to have the structure on here in which to fasten the mount to. One thing I've noticed is when you're using the light, it gets very hot, especially, well, it gets very hot when it's on turbo. So actually this becomes a little bit handy when it's hot because you can hold it like this. It may look a little bit odd, but after it's been on turbo for about 30 seconds, the head starts to get very hot. And then after about 5-10 minutes, the whole body is very hot. So that's when you can hold it this way if you're in that position and it's getting hot. So The light here, as you can see, it's rather an attractive styling. It has the magnetic base, as you can tell. Now the remote switch, of course, works just like the USB charger, and the remote switch attaches to the back, just like that. And then the remote switch also has a locking feature on it. So if you can see right here, it says lock and unlock, push, push and pull. So this basically, right now this is in the unlocked position, but to lock it you have to push it like that, and that is that is now in the locked position, so it won't come off. So to unlock it, you just give it a little bit of a pull like that. It's hardly moves at all, maybe a millimeter, hardly moves at all. But then of course it'll come off just fine. But to lock it on is just to give it a little push. And the remote switch, of course, works just by pressing the switch like that. And the remote switch only operates it on turbo mode. It doesn't have a means to select the mode. So every time it's pushed, and of course you can tap it very lightly, but you'll go in turbo mode every single time, and it locks on in turbo. So that's the remote. And the head is getting hot already. I've only been doing this, as you can see. I've only been turning it on and off, and the head is already starting to get warm to hot. So that's how fast that heats up. So I'll unlock this and pull it off. So we'll talk about the light a little bit more here. Here is the bezel, of course, and it's a standard looking LED for the LEDs that are in most Olight lights these days, with this sort of reflector which sort of gives it an odd sort of a fisheye effect almost. But the beam here is it's a little bit of a combination between a spot and a throw. And the switch on the bottom is very sensitive, and you only but have to give it a slight tap and it turns on, and it makes absolutely no sound, so it's quite tactical in that regard. To get turbo mode, you give it a harder press, and you just give it a harder press and it locks in. Another interesting feature is the fact that it has a vibrating power indicator. And this is the way in which the light tells you that the battery is starting to get low. It doesn't do anything until the battery gets down to about 20% power, so it has to be pretty low. But what happens then is, as soon as you turn the light on, you feel a vibration within the cap, and it's almost like your phone vibrating when it's on silent. So as soon as you go to turn it on, you'll get a little like that as a vibrator, and then it'll do that basically when you turn it on to let you know that it's low. And then if you let it go and the battery gets significantly lower, it starts to vibrate on its own every 5 minutes, as long as the light is turned on. And then when it gets down to like 10% power, it'll vibrate once per minute. And then even more than that, it'll do it every 10 seconds if the battery is at 5% power. So you have to let it get very, very, very low before it'll start to do any kind of long-term vibrating. But just to know that that is part of the switch, and that's their system for letting you know to charge the battery up. So let me turn the light off over here so we can have a look at the beam. I'll give it the light press, and here is low. I'm not sure what color temperature this is, but it almost has sort of a slightly kind of a warm tint to it in some ways. So here we are in the other room, and this is low, and then if I press it further, I can sort of do a tactical turbo on it. But if I want to lock it in, I have to give it a firmer press and push it right in, and then it locks. So this is turbo, And as you can see, the beam almost has sort of a semi kind of a spot, almost like kind of a spotlight to it, but it's a little wider than an actual spotlight, but it's not particularly floody either. So it does certainly illuminate an area that you're directly pointing at very well. And if I leave it on any more at the moment, oops, yeah, that head is starting to get very hot right now. I can't even touch the head. So I'll turn it down to low. The manual does describe that it drops in intensity after a few minutes. Let me just take it outside for the moment and show you those all-important outdoor shots, and then we'll go back to the manual for a second. So follow me outside with it if you will. Alright, hope you enjoyed those beam shots. Anyway, let me go back to the manual for a moment here as it describes the output. And within the manual, of course, here are all the pictures of what it comes with and your accessories and so forth. And here is where it describes that on high it is 2000 lumens, and it will be on high, it'll be on turbo rather, well it's actually high mode. There is no turbo, it's just low and high. So anytime I said turbo earlier, just scratch that and replace it with high. So it'll be on high for 2 minutes, and then it'll do sort of a gradual step down to about 50%, and then remain there for about 9 minutes, and then do another gradual descent. I believe that says 38% there, and then remains there for a couple of hours, and then heads down to a low of about 15%, where it'll stay for another half hour. And low mode will give you 300 lumens, and it will stay there for an entire day at that output. 8 hours, it says here, it'll remain at 300 lumens before the battery starts to drop. So so those are your outputs, and I was using it the other day on high and sort of doing a timing on it here, and it does remain, once the body of the light starts getting hot, even as it starts to step down over here, the body does remain very hot for a period of time. So just keep that in mind. But again, as I say, you can, when the body is hot, you can hold it like this if you absolutely need to, and it's still relatively cool to the touch. By holding it this way, you're not touching the body at all, which is very hot. So this area here remains kind of cool. And of course, the base is magnetic, so anything magnetic will stick to the bottom, will stick to the base. So if that's something that interests you, or if you have to have a magnetic base, of course, you've got one with the Olight Odin. So anyway, that's pretty much the basics of the light. I wish I could show you more of the rail mount in action, but as I say, that's just the way that is. But it attaches and comes off very easily, and is of use to someone who has that sort of equipment or has a need for it in that manner. The Olight Odin has been the subject of our video today. Hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I received this light for test and review from my friends at Skyben on Amazon, and there is a link below if you'd like to pick one up from them at a good price. Amazon Prime, of course. And that's it for today. As I say, questions or comments, let me know. Thanks to Skyben for the Olight Odin, and we'll see you again next time with more from lightsandgear.com, and of course you can check out my lightsandgear.com website for flashlights, batteries, chargers, and more. You take care now. Thanks for watching. So long.